was concerned that not much could be done by one person or by a small group of people. What could we do? As they listed all these injustices that are occurring in the world, what could happen? And I'm reminded again and again that it is small groups of people, 1, 2, 3, 4, that grow into many, that makes things different, that bends history, that changes things. Now this little scripture that I read to you from Mark is a very interesting scripture. And our papas and mamas put this in this scripture to remind us of several things. One was that Jesus really had a very difficult time getting things across. Of course, he was always jumping on his disciples and telling them they didn't get it. But he goes back home, his hometown. And not only do they not get it, but they get real upset with it. And I imagine our papas and mamas put that in there to remind them of the situation that they were in. Because you see, we as Christians didn't start off at the top of the ladder. We were a bunch of outsiders who didn't fit, who reached out to people who were taboo, who weren't supposed to be reached out to at all, who included ideas and emphasis that weren't acceptable in their time. And then the next little piece is very interesting, because he sends out his disciples with nothing. Don't take any extra bags, wear some sandals, because you might have to hoof it. It's sometimes hard to run over rocks with bare feet. And when you show up at a house, you stay there. You don't go out in the neighborhood and knock on doors. Is that a clue to you about what's happening? You don't want to draw attention. You just want to get the people in there that are going to listen to you. And if they are not going to listen to you, then move on. Don't make a big fuss about it. And just, shake your feet. Kind of a clue that our papas and mamas were under the eye. They had to be pretty careful about what they were doing if they were going to contact people, if they were going to be witnesses. That's important to remember. Because you see, they had decided that they were going to do something significant. They were going to bend history. They were going to change things. They were under a very despotic situation. The Romans did not court very much difference from their opinions. They were ruthless. They just came in and took heads. And the religion of the time where Jesus was pretty brittle. There are a lot of people you didn't talk to. In fact, if their shadow fell on your food, you couldn't eat that food. And here were these people talking about loving their neighbor as themselves. About reaching out to people who were different than they were. Who were foreign nationals. Who were even Romans. Who were, by some, your enemy. In fact, this little group of people said that you should love your enemy and pray for them who despitefully use you. Rather revolutionary. Rather shocking. Now we come to another little bit of history that we read just now, the Declaration of Independence. They started writing that in the early part of June. They were over in Philadelphia. They knew that British ships were landing in New York. And they had not come to have a party. They were landing troops. There had already been some fights. This was a nervous kind of time. And interestingly enough, they didn't really write anything new. If you go back in English history to 1689, you will see that there's an English Bill of Rights that reads a lot like what they put down on paper here. And they were lawyers, many of them, and they had studied this. In fact, they used the same form of setting out what people were due and then listing all of the offenses. In 1689, it was King James, that people had done. They ran a risk. And in fact, quite a number of these people lost everything they had. I don't know if you saw in the paper, but they had just recovered. They found one of the original scripts of the Declaration of Independence in England. Because the English got that document primarily to see the names that were on it, and they targeted everybody that was on that list. They burned their houses. They imprisoned those that they could catch. They tortured, and some they executed. Most of those on that list never lived to see what they had done. And last night, we had a great time shooting off fireworks, eating a lot of food, and celebrating what they accomplished, though they never saw what they accomplished.